All right, we now have a quorum.
Okay,
It's 6:30. Welcome to the Wareham Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, January 6th, 2021. Happy New Year to everybody, and it's better be a better year than it has been. We have Alyssa, Ron, Mary, Sandy, and associate members Kwame and Mike on the line. So please, Alyssa, the first hearing, please.
Elisa. Notice of public hearing. Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held on Wednesday, January 6, 2021, at 6:30 p.m. on the request for determination of applicability for Tom Parento, care of Plymouth Solar Energy, 18 Main Street Extension, Suite 414, Plymouth, Massachusetts, 02360, to construct a solar array located on Assessor's Map 20, Lot 1019B, 10 over Jordan Road, Wareham, Massachusetts.
Thank you. Is there anybody here to represent this project?
My name is Greg Aborn with Plymouth Solar Energy. I'm here.
Thank you. Mr. Pachette will read to the project, and then I'll ask the commission members for questions, and then I'll go to the general public.
This is Fred Paris from Plymouth Solar Energy as well.
Okay, so the project site is at 10 over Jordan Road, and this project involves the installation of a ground-mounted solar array within a coastal flood zone. A 93 by 161 foot solar array is proposed within flood zone BE elevation 19. The solar array is not in the buffer zone to any other resource areas. There is no grade changes proposed at the site. I did speak with the representative for the project about the plans and that there needed to be some additional information, in my opinion, shown on the plans. And I was told that there would be a revision made that we would get at some point down the road. I did have a couple of questions in terms of what is going to be needed to be done to these arrays to meet the flood zone compliance requirements for a structure in that area in a velocity zone. And I'd also asked that there be something shown on the plan which showed how the solar field was going to be connected, or where it was going to be connected to the street or to a power supply to tie into the system. There is no tree clearing really proposed as part of this project. You know, when I initially looked at this, the project site had not been staked out at that point. I know that this property has been staked out at this since then, as far as the location of the solar array. So at this point, I would recommend a continuance of the hearing for the revised plan with more detail and also some information about the construction methodology to be in compliance for the flood zone.
And did they have a sense of how long it would be before?
Thank you. Greg or Fred, you want to talk to the project?
Yes, this is Fred Paris. Greg and I were out there yesterday and we staked out the site, and we recognize that we have not met.
Excuse me, Fred, can you hold a minute? Somebody has to go on to mute. I'm hearing some conversations like someone's watching television. Please put yourself on mute if you're not part of this project discussion. Thank you. Not you, Fred, you're talking. Okay.
Very good. There is an engineer that has been retained, and they fully intend to mark out all of the pathways for conduit to the road, as well as to, you know, whatever the scope of the extent is. This solar field will be built, but it will not be fully utilized right away because there are some development in the houses that are still set to be built. So we understand the details that the town has asked us, and we intend to fully comply with continuing to mark up this same plot plan to meet those requirements.
Okay. Can someone, David, can you outline this lot that's going to be developed? I'm looking at the plan and I'm not sure where that solar.
Except for the fact that you'd be able to see the array from the road. So, and I know we didn't see you before you took down those things. So I'm curious about that, David. And I also, I'm wondering if this, because the question was asked of me, if this array is going to be a private thing, or are you going to be selling electricity in order to maintain, in order to benefit from it? So is it just for your home, or is it, or homes, because I know you're going to build more than one, or is it a business proposition? It's with a double size, pretty big size of an array.
If I may, the solar is being built specifically for the residents in this neighborhood. It is not the intent to sell any of the energy. It is to make this community a division of really high performance homes that meet the solar will meet the demand of the homes, and it is no intent to sell commercially any of the output.
Fred, how many homes is this going to support?
I think there are 3 right now. Greg, can you comment on that?
Correct. We have 3 structures for the Parento family. This is to supply their family homes with private energy.
Plus the pool area, I would guess.
All of their, yeah. So this is 3 homes, but it is the electrical needs for their private property, all of it.
And so when you talk about it, do you see that now that it's been enlarged, that this is going to be a problem with, with Great Neck Road and people who live right at that corner on Great Neck Road, that this will impact them negatively? So are you planning, some nice, I guess what was recommended, cherry laurel, skip cherry laurel or something like that in order to block the view of your solar array?
We would be,
I kind of think that the view is nice. I haven't heard anyone complain about the view yet. We think
There's nothing on it yet, Fred.
this is also all owned by one family. He owns
Yes,
this
it is.
entire
I know that.
parcel.
right now.
Well, yes, right now.
But we'd be pleased to entertain a visual barrier for the solar, absolutely.
Can we make a
Thank you.
recommendation?
So we are going to be continuing the hearing, waiting for the more detailed plans
Okay.
and how to handle the flood zone and secure the arrays should the water come up and float them away.
Is that something, Sandy, that the engineer could speak to now? Could you give us a sense of what is going to be required, if anything, for something that's going to be built in a velocity zone?
What?
May I ask who asked that question? This is Mary Dermody.
This is Dave Pachette, the conservation agent.
I guess I'm not sure what the term velocity zone means, and we are building a array that conforms to the snow load, the wind loads, and so forth, and we take into consideration the.
I'm not really getting your audio again, Fred.
Okay. Let me try it this way. We have not taken into consideration what a velocity zone is. I've never heard that term before, but we're building this. can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We're building the system according to the structural requirements for the wind load, the snow load in this particular area. I'm not quite sure what you're asking for in a velocity zone. What, I'm not an engineer, but we have retained a professional engineer. They're not on the line with us now, but I'm sure that they will be able to answer those questions. Should you give us questions that need to be answered by the next meeting, we'll get that together.
Sure. Yeah, no, the velocity flood zone is a flood zone where you're going to have wave action hitting that particular area. And so things typically need to be built to a different standard because of that issue. So that's something, though, that would be worked out with the building inspector. So I was just asking the question, and by next meeting, maybe that question can be explained or answered.
Very good.
What exactly is the question to have the engineer prepare an answer for? What we're doing for this project to alleviate the concerns of the water itself?
No, the question is, do the panels have to be built to some different standard because of the fact that it's in a velocity flood zone, or does it not? And if it does, we just want to make sure that you're building it to that standard.
Okay, I understand completely. Just to make you aware, I did check with the building inspector of Wareham prior to starting this project, and he had no concerns with it, seeing as it's uninhabited, it's not a livable structure, there's no population at risk, it's solar. If it, gets hit by a wave, it's not going to hurt anybody else.
I disagree.
Okay, well, like I said, we'll just want to get that
Yeah.
verified, just to make sure that that is the understanding and that he's clear that this isn't a velocity flood zone, which he may or may not have known the answer to when you first spoke to him.
I'm back.
When we talk, this is Fred Paris, when we talk about a velocity flood zone, can we assume the frequency of that? Is that like a 50-year flood zone, or once every 100 years, or every 5 years, or do we know that?
No, we don't know that necessarily because that's an unpredictable situation. The flood maps depict the 100-year flood zone, but you never know. You could have 500-year storms in 10 years, or you could not have one in 200 years. You don't know the answer to that.
Okay, and talking to the people in that area, I don't think anybody's ever seen water up there. But we'll make sure we conform to whatever the building inspector suggests.
Flooded in 91,
Very good.
1958.
1991.
1954,
1938.
1898, the water crossed Great Neck Road and it was totally flooded.
All right. I'm sorry. I lost connection and I'm back.
Okay.
Did we go back through the board to see if the commission, to see if they had any questions?
No.
Not yet.
Okay, Mary, anything?
Is there gonna be like a buffer area along over Jordan Road or to block the array in any way?
That's being discussed.
Okay. Or will it be just on over Jordan, or will it be on the Great Neck area so that it can't be safe in there either?
Well, let's hear from some of the people who are the butters and see what they would prefer for that. I would expect to see that right now that array is really hidden behind a row of trees and stuff. It's in the back field. It's not in the front field right on Great Neck. But let's hear from some of the abutters as to what they would like to do to ease the sight of those arrays.
Sandy, before we
sorry.
get into that, that's not necessarily a conservation issue.
I understand. Ron, did you have any questions?
I mean, I'm sure I'll have some questions, but it's kind of hard. It's just a generic plan with not really much information to review other than where they propose to put it. So I mean, I think I'll hold off my questions until I can see a more revised plan with some actual information that will help determine what questions I might have.
Okay. Kwame, anything?
No questions at this time.
Michael?
Like Ron, I'm gonna have to see more information. It was just very, very small and generic. And really the only other question I had was this project size. And that's, it sounds like it's already been doubled, but I'm just gonna need to see a little bit more information before I may have any more questions rather. So I'm good for now.
Thank you. Fred or Greg, I'm not sure who would handle this. Are you having to go before planning or zoning for this?
We will have to go to zoning for the approval, yes.
So I know we can't, I know that putting a buffer is not within our privy. You're going to have it covered, surrounded by fencing?
We will have it fenced off and not accessible to anybody.
How far off the ground if you get where I'm coming from?
The fence?
Yep.
The fence needs to be minimum 6 foot.
No, off the ground. For let critters to run underneath.
Okay.
I
believe-
normally, yeah,
Minimum 6 inches. I'm not sure what
Yeah.
the requirement is for the critter, but minimum 6 inches off the ground for turtles.
They-
And
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was going, even though it's not part of what we have a say on. Now, is there anybody on the line that would like to speak or have any questions on this project? I saw Mr. England.
I am here.
Anybody else? All right, your turn.
My turn. I am the direct abutter to just about all of Mr. Parento's property. So this is going to be in the rear of where I am, and where I saw on the map where it was located, it already is hidden. Because Mr. Deacon's property is the one that's there, and that's all treed in. And then if you see, because I'm lot 1019 C2, the field that is beside me on that side, where they took down the fence and everybody was worried about that. That fence, for one, was deteriorating and falling apart, and all the vegetation was not, planted. And now we have a beautiful view of the field. And if you go from the backside of my property of 1019 C2, it goes all the way across over to where Mr. Deacon's property is. And I'm assuming that's where they're going to plant the vegetation
Hi, honey.
to hide it.
We had a coup today.
Excuse
had a
me,
coup today.
somebody needs to go to mute. Hi, honey, please mute yourself. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you. So yeah, if they plant the vegetation to hide it at the back corner of where my property is 1019 C2 and the end of lot 1019 C4, there's only a short strip there that would have to, be planted to, hide anything. So there's not going to be a large amount that has to be done to hide it from that side. Now, if you want them to do over Jordan, then that's a whole nother thing, but I don't see where that's necessary. And I have absolutely no issues with the way this is going.
Okay, so that would be something that planning would be talking about. What we're concerned is the stabilization and the ability of the structures to withstand a flood, and more detail on the plan. Is there anybody, Rick, was that it for you?
It is, except for the fact that as far as the velocity zone, this is a flood velocity zone. It's VE 17. So any structure has to be elevated to 17. As far as a home or a dwelling, I see nothing for anything like solar panels, but.
correct.
Okay.
I've always been disappointed that they changed the map, because this is not going to be a wave action of any kind. I was here in 91. And the water did come in here, and it just slowly flowed in.
Well,
Okay.
91 though was considered a very small storm, so we can't really use that as a good barometer of what might happen in a 100-year storm event.
I get that. Yeah, it was a cat
Okay.
too.
Yes. Is there anybody else online that would like to speak for this project, or for or against, or speak questions on this project? Anybody? We are going to, hearing none, I'd like a motion to continue the meeting. Greg or Fred, would the next meeting on the
20th.
20th be good for continuation?
Yes, I'm sure we could make that.
Okay, I'd like a motion to continue the hearing until January
continue.
20th. I have a motion.
Second,
I have a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Elissa,
Yes.
Mary,
yes.
Sandy. Yes, we're continued until the 20th. Thank you.
Right. Are you ready to go again?
Next, please.
Sure. Notice of public hearing. Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held on Wednesday, January 6, 2021, at 6:30 p.m. on the notice of intent for Linda and Robert Christensen, care of J.C. Engineering, Inc., 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass. 02538, to reconstruct a deck and stairway located on Assessor's Map 38, Lot 351, 35 Crab Cove Terrace, Wareham, Massachusetts.
Thank you. Is there anybody here for this project?
The engineer is just coming in. I think he got cut off and I just readmitted him. So if you give him a second to join in here.
Okay.
Mr. Pimentel, are you on board?
I am. Sorry about that.
That's okay. We just read the hearing notice, so I'm just going to describe the project.
Okay, very good.
The project site is at 35 Crab Cove Terrace in the Parkwood Beach area. And the project involves the reconstruction of a deck and stairs on a coastal bank within a coastal flood zone and in the buffer zone to a salt marsh. An existing 16 by 17 foot deck is to be reconstructed, and it is currently within 30 feet of the marsh, and it is on the coastal bank. The proposal is to rebuild the same size deck, but to move it back from the marsh so that it is just outside the 30 foot to the marsh. But it would still be on the coastal bank and in flood zone AE elevation 14. The stairs would still be in the 30-foot distance to the marsh. In looking at the stairs, I thought that there were some alternatives to having those stairs rebuilt in the same place. There are currently some other existing stairs that allow someone to get down to the bottom area of the site, which are kind of over in this area and over here where you could walk down instead of having this whole thing rebuilt down to the marsh. That was just my thought on that particular issue, or if the stairs are to be approved, there are some sections of the stairs that involve what look to be landings instead of just a straight stairway that goes all the way down. So that if you eliminated those landings, that could shorten up the distance that the stairs would be to the marsh. There's no grade changes proposed as part of the project. We did get a DEP file number for the project. Overall, I'm not opposed to the project. There is an existing deck there, and the owners simply want to reconstruct it, and they are willing to pull the deck further away from the salt marsh than what it currently exists.
Thank you. Michael, was anything to add?
No, I think Dave summarized it pretty well. The only thing I will say, though, the elevation of the flood zone is AE 15.
Okay.
15, that's the only thing. Other than that, Dave summarized it nicely.
Okay, questions on the board? Ron?
I mean, I'm just kind of looking at here with the stairs that Dave is talking about. I mean, I think if there's a potential viable alternative to the stairway, I would definitely think that might be something to consider in what we decide as far as what can be done and what can't be done to eliminate some of the building inside of the 30-foot zone, or even like to Dave's point, there looks like there's a couple of landings in the plan. If those were eliminated too, it could potentially push that back. So those are the only things that I could see as a concern. Obviously, it's an existing deck that's being pulled further back from the marsh, which is good. So that would be my only concerns, is the same thing as Dave is saying about the stairs.
Okay. Elissa,
I agree that the stairs and the platforms down the stairs, if we could shorten that back, I think it would be a good idea. I had another question, that is there any part of this staircase that's taken off in the winter time? So to shorten that deck over the winter, or is it just one piece?
I believe it's just one piece. It's not a portable set of stairs. It's a wooden in place set of stairs that go down to the water, and it's attached to the deck.
Okay, and then my other question would be, what's going to be supporting this stairway going down?
We'll probably end up putting sonotubes every so often down the set of stairs, and the same goes for the deck. We're also going to be putting in new concrete sonotubes for supporting the deck.
So David, do you have anything to add about the sonotubes and how they're placed, by what method?
No, that's pretty much going to have to be all handwork there. I don't think that's going to be a problem. It's normal, standard construction for something like that.
anything else?
No, I think that's it. Mostly whether or not we can pull back a little bit more. Just
Okay.
the
Can-
platforms.
Can I
May
speak to
I,
that?
Yes, sure.
may I speak?
In a minute, in a minute.
Oh,
Let me go
sure.
through the commission goes first, and then we'll ask
Sure.
the public. Thank you. Okay, Mary?
It's good to see it being brought back a bit, and hopefully they can bring those stairs back a little bit also. That will help.
Okay. Kwame?
No, I agree with Ron's assessment about the everything about the stairs maybe being pushed back, but everything else looks pretty good.
Michael?
I'm sorry, nothing else to add this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Right now, what you're planning, the stairs that you're planning to rebuild will be in the exact same footprint that they exist today?
That's correct, and that's what I wanted to talk about. The reason why I have the stairs laid out the way it is, and I couldn't shorten it up, is because you have the grade underneath it. If I were to add more stairs, it would go deeper into the ground, and then therefore I'd have to cut into the earth in order to lay down the steps. So what we try to do is just lay the new stairs essentially in the same location as the existing stairs and work with the existing terrain that's there now.
Because
So-
using those platforms makes those stairs easier to use, because you have a short set of stairs, a resting area, some more stairs, a resting area, which conforms to the slope that exists, right?
Well, it's an added bonus, sure, yes.
I mean, so
But
we're not asking, yeah. Go
No,
on.
like I said, I mean, if we can shorten up the stairs, I'm all for that. So if in the field they notice that they can shorten up the stairs and then get it farther back than what we showed it now. I mean, right now we show it farther away from the existing, the last step. Now we have it farther away from that last step now. Now, if they can move it farther back, we're not opposed to that. But I'm just trying to work with what the existing terrain, provides us. And we're keeping it all within the same footprint as the existing stairs. So we're not going beyond it at all.
Okay. Now, when the existing deck is removed, all the material will be removed from the site as the construction?
It will have to be, yes.
And right now, there is a piece of a wall that's virtually on the edge of the existing deck. That will stay there?
Yeah, I imagine so. I mean, could it?
Comes right up to the 30-foot no work zone
Yeah.
where it is right now, and that will stay there.
We're planning it for it to be, to stay, correct. Now, during construction, if they see the need to remove that little tiny piece that goes into the deck, then they'll remove it. But for the most part, it should all remain.
Yeah, because there is a right angle that a little of it goes underneath the deck.
That's
That
correct.
sort of surrounds a sonic tube. Everything
Correct.
underneath that will be removed. So
Correct.
there'll no longer be storage in the 30-foot no work zone.
Well, that I can't speak to that. As far as storage, are you referring to, let's say, the ladder? If he stores a ladder or
The little boat that's in there, the floater in there, because they
Mhm.
won't be able to stay there because they will be exposed to the element. Is that a good, you know what I'm talking about? There's items underneath the existing deck.
yes,
The lattice will have to go. Everything stored on the deck would have to go.
yes, you're referring to during construction when they actually construct the deck?
No, when it's done, there's
Oh,
no
when it's
deck,
done?
there's no deck to put anything under.
There'll still be some space underneath the deck.
But not like it is today.
Well, it will be higher, to be honest with you. The platform of the deck, because we're moving it farther back away from the water, we actually have to raise it up about a foot.
Yep,
So now you're gonna have more headroom underneath that deck.
Okay.
Yeah,
but it will all be inside of that wall that exists today. Yes. Yeah. So the question I had was that the stairs are going with the existing footprint of the stairs that they have.
that's correct, 100%.
Okay, now.
Except for the portion that is closer to the house. Because now obviously this set of stairs and the deck is moved approximately 6 feet away. So that portion will be brand new. It won't be within the
Okay.
same footprint.
That will be abutting to the new deck.
Correct.
And what will the material be for the new stairs?
I can let the homeowner, who I believe is on this Zoom call, can speak to that.
Okay. I'm done with my question now. Is there anybody on the line that would like to speak for or against or have questions on this project? Please identify yourself.
My name is Robert Christensen. I'm the homeowner.
Okay,
You asked about the new materials for the deck. It's going to be pressure treated lumber underneath for the support coming up from the sonotubes. And then the top material is going to be either AZIC or Trex, which is a man-made composite. It won't rot. So it should be very durable out there.
I was asking about the material on the stairs.
Oh, the material of the stairs is also going to be the same. It's going to be underneath would be pressure treated stringers being supported at intervals. And then if we can afford it, the Trex or AZIC will be the steps as well. Otherwise, it will be pressure treated lumber.
Okay.
We have to build that per building code. So Massachusetts building code dictates the rise and run of all those stairways. That's not in our perusal to decide how that is. It's based on what Mike said about the slope of the land and all. We will do our best to shorten it up.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else on the line that would like to speak for this project? We're all set, right, David, with all the permits? What you said, we had a DEP or not? We don't need it.
Yes, we do have a DEP file number, yes.
Okay. I'm hearing nobody else to speak to this project. The board, would the commission like to make a motion to close the hearing?
Motion to close the hearing?
Second.
And I have a motion and I heard a second. All in favor? Ron,
Yes.
Elissa,
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Sandy? Yes, the hearing is closed. What do you want?
Well, I think I would make a motion to approve the project with the standard order of conditions and would also like to see, if at all possible, to shorten up that stairway. I understand that there are mass building codes that have to be followed for it, but if there's anything that can be done to shorten it up in any way, I'd like to see that.
That being the motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Elissa,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Sandy. Yes. Okay. Michael, you got the project. So Robert and Michael, before you start anything, please work with Mr. Pachette to get all your proper paperwork before you start it. Okay?
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, January 6, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. on the notice of intent for Mary Beth and Roger Holmes, care of JC Engineering, Inc., 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass. 02538. To construct an in-ground pool and patio expansion located on Assessor's Map 2, Lot S1-A, 8 South Water Street, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Is there anybody here representing this project?
Yes, that would be I, Sam Iamelli with JC Engineering.
Hi, Sam. Mr. Pachette, your turn.
Okay, the project is at 8 South Water Street in Onset, and the project involves the construction of an in-ground pool and a patio expansion within a coastal flood zone and within the buffer zone to a coastal bank. A 6 by 12 foot in-ground plunge pool with a patio surrounding the pool is proposed, and this is within flood zone VE elevation 19 and approximately 70 feet from the top of a coastal bank, which is the seawall on the other side of South Water Street from the subject site. The pool and patio would be constructed primarily in a section of the existing gravel driveway. Erosion control is shown on one side of the patio expansion, but I would say that there would need to be some other provision to help prevent materials from spreading out onto the street during construction. And if there's any catch basin in the area, that should be covered or have a silt sack put in it during the construction. We did get a DEP file number for this project, so I would recommend the approval of the project with the issuance of the order of conditions and the standard conditions and the added conditions that I mentioned for proper erosion control and the further condition that the pool not be drained potentially out into the stormwater system in the street.
And the protection of the stormwater.
Yes, that's what I included as part of the erosion control. Yep.
Okay, Sam, any comments?
I think Dave had mentioned everything. Maybe one thing I would add is that we did have the project staked out this morning, so you can get a visual if you drive by.
Thank you. It would have been nice if it was staked out a while ago.
Monday by noon.
Yeah, I mean, it's
By noon.
once we have a notice, once we receive a notice that there's a hearing coming up, there are several members who like to go out and visit the site. And it would be nice if they were staked out once the hearing has been sent to the newspapers.
I don't think
So,
it's even, it would be nice, Sandy. I think we need to do it. We're not, not everybody has Wednesday afternoon to go looking at staked areas. It should be done by Monday noon.
Because Sam, honestly, if this happens again, we're going to very well ask that the project be continued until the stakes have been there for at least a week.
Okay, I will note that.
Okay, so please let everybody in JC Engineering, and I'll say the same thing for GAF and everybody else. We want those stakes there at least a week before the hearing.
Okay.
Okay, questions? Sam, you said you're good with what you've heard from Dave?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, questions? Ron?
Yeah, I mean, first I just want to, what is a plunge pool?
So it's just a shallower, smaller, compact pool than you would typically see, typically used for aquatic exercises.
Okay, yeah, when they said plunge pool, I'm like, it's a pool. I mean, I'm just trying to understand exactly what it is.
Okay.
I mean, obviously I'll resonate the words of both Sandy and Alyssa about staking out sites, because it does make it easier for us to have a visual. We're not always able to get together at the same time to go out to the sites. So
Okay.
having them, I mean, I think we give enough notice for the hearings that it shouldn't be too difficult to do that. So that would be my, the same comments there. But other than that, I mean, I don't see any issues with the project outside of what Dave has talked about with, protecting the stormwater area and not draining the pool into those resources. So that's just my comments, was wanting to know about what a plunge pool was, and then obviously talking about being able to see projects visually, because a visual aid is definitely easier for us to understand. We have all these pictures and lines and things like that, but actually being able to see it is definitely important for us.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Alyssa?
Okay, so my question is, somewhere it was noted that most of this new patio and the pool are going to be taking up and exchanging for the gravel driveway. So the gravel driveway is getting smaller.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So my question is, the permeability of what are you putting on this patio that's permeable? We need to have something, the gravel was permeable, so we need something permeable, I think, on the patio, just to keep everything sort of balanced a bit. What are you planning to make your patio of?
The patio will be constructed of pavers to match the existing patio that's currently there.
Is it permeable?
It would be impervious.
Is there anything you could do that would make it pervious? I mean, would that be helpful, David? I mean, it's.
Well, again, I think certainly anytime when we can get a pervious surface, that's more preferable. And that's, a decision from the board. In this situation here, where you're not necessarily right up against a resource area, and you've got the street between that and the resource area, it's not as critical. But obviously, anytime you can get more pervious surface, it's preferable.
So I think that I think that we should, in the acceptance of this project, I think we should say that the water needs to be pumped out, not to be drained out onto the street or into the water system of Wareham. I still like the idea if you could get something pervious there, but I mean, I've sort of been to what Dave's talking about. I don't know how other people feel on it. I'd like to see it.
Well, I think maybe, looking at it is, the entire pool itself is surrounded by the pavers and whatnot. What if the backside of the pool closest to the street was maybe a grass area, where water that's coming off from like the rain would end up in a grass area rather than completely running off into the street. I mean, that's the only thing I could think of as a potential in between, is to have the grass area there, because you have the gravel on the right side, in the driveway, and then you'd have grass behind it, so you kind of have a barrier of water runoff that would kind of, most of it would end up into the ground itself.
But if you have a grass area surrounded by a fence, that's hard to mow and maintain. Correct?
I mean, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, I have fences around all of my grass, and it's, I have somebody that comes out and does it for me. I don't do it myself. So it's easy because I don't do it, but I can understand that too. But I'm just trying to think of, to Alyssa's point, maybe trying to mitigate a little bit of that water runoff. And that might be kind of a go-between. Just a thought. I mean, I'm not saying yes or no.
Why do the pavers have to be impervious? Aren't there pavers that allows water to flow through them?
It depends on how it's put in, I believe.
Well, no, they do make pervious pavers. That is a specific product. So that is something that could be utilized if that's what the commission is going to want to see.
I think that it makes sense, either pervious pavers or some other way to get the water to just sort of drain down.
The grade of the land does slope to the westerly side of the property, and between the street and the proposed projects, there is a strip of well-maintained grass in that section with a few shrubs there. So that is in place as well.
Okay, Mary, any questions?
No question.
Kwame,
No questions.
Michael,
I'm sorry, I don't remember your name here. The engineer, where are those shrubs again? Are those those between where the plunge pool is and South Water Street?
Correct. Yeah, almost on the corner of that enclosed porch that you see on the plan.
Correct. So where it basically says where the proposed silt hay and fence bales are? In
Yes.
that
Yep.
vicinity? All right.
no. The shrubbery right now is going to be taken out because that's where the pavers are going to go.
There's some additional shrubbery on the southwesterly corner of the lot.
That's what I thought he said. There was more there.
They were very minor. We weren't showing those on plan, but they are there.
But they exist.
Yes.
They
They're
do
nothing
exist.
new. Okay.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's
Yep.
all.
Is there anybody on, I did everybody. Is there anybody on the call that would like to speak to, for, or questions on this project? I'm hearing none. Before we close the hearing, is everybody all right if we indicate that we want pervious pavers to be added to the conditions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. See, those are the shrubs that are going to be removed.
Yes.
Gotcha. All right.
And see, the tree's going to go, and the stakes that are there are the limits of the new pavers and equipment pad. Okay.
All right.
I heard nobody online wanted to speak to this. I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Motion to close.
Second.
And I heard a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Elissa,
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
Sandy. Yes, the hearing is closed. Someone wants to take a stab at the order of conditions?
Okay, so I move that we accept this project with the condition that permeable pavers are used for the patio. That, let's see, that the water in this pool is never deposited. So that
Must be pumped out and
must be
removed.
pumped out and removed. Yeah, removed from the site.
Yep.
Anything else?
The erosion control on the street side and the protection of the stormwater drains.
That's a good one.
Okay, that's the motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Elissa,
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
Sandy, yes. So Sam, you've got the project approved. Before you do any work, see Mr. Pachette.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 4. Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, January 6th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. on the notice of intent for Penrose Properties LLC, care of Horsley Witten Group, Inc., 90 Route 6A, Sandwich, Mass. 02563, to construct an affordable housing development located on Assessor's Map 56, Lot 1, 4 Littleton Drive, Wareham, Massachusetts.
Thank you. And who is here to speak to this project?
Hi, I'm here. My name is Rio Sacchetti. I'm a developer with Penrose. I also have with me tonight, I believe they're still on, are Joe Henderson and Amy Ball. They're both with Horsley Witten Group. Joe is a senior civil engineer on the project, and Amy is a senior ecologist.
Thank you. Mr. Pachette will read to the project.
Okay, the project site is at 4 Littleton Drive, which is off of Swiss Beach Road. And the project involves the construction of a multi-unit affordable housing project, part of which is in the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. The site is 16 acres approximately overall and is a wooded lot off of Swiss Beach Road. And it's proposed to construct a 93-unit multi-building housing development with associated parking, utilities, and stormwater structures. Part of the proposed project is proposed within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland along the edge of Flax Pond. The majority of the project is outside the buffer zone to the wetland. Stormwater is proposed to be handled by several rain gardens and subsurface infiltration structures. The plan shows one of the buildings, grading, parking areas, and stormwater structures within the buffer zone. As part of the project, a senior center building is proposed, part of which would be in the buffer zone. There are also 2 parking areas with subsurface stormwater infiltration structures that also partially fall in the buffer zone, along with a pedestrian path and outfall pipes for the stormwater drainage structures. There are 2 drainage outfall pipes that have been proposed to be very close to the edge of the wetland. I would recommend that these be relocated or that an alternative system be designed so that these drainage outfall pipes are outside the 50-foot line to the wetland. Other items such as the pedestrian path should also, if possible, along with any other work, be outside the 50-foot to the bordering vegetated wetland. This project has been reviewed initially by an engineering firm hired by the town to review the project for the town, which was Green Seal Environmental. In their initial review, they state that additional information is needed to determine whether or not the project would meet the Mass Department of Environmental Protection stormwater standards and to make sure that the system is sized appropriately for the site. They also discuss whether or not there's a vernal pool at the subject site, which has not been identified as such, and they recommend that the wetland boundary and the vernal pool issue be approved and addressed under another filing of an ANRAD, or a notice of resource area delineation, to approve the wetland boundary that's shown. That was the recommendation of Green Seal Environmental. I have also heard that there may be some other plan changes required as a result of comments from the fire department, which involve additional access roads behind some of the buildings. If this is true, then the plans would need to be revised and structures possibly be relocated so that these requests can be met and still maintain adequate separation to the wetlands. So again, I'd like to see work revised so that there's no work within the 50-foot line to the wetland, if possible. These items need to be addressed, and we also need to get some final comments from the consulting engineer. Those have not yet been completed because, again, there's some additional information that they did not have at the time of their initial review. I also did not really see erosion control depicted on the plan, or maybe I just missed it, but I didn't happen to catch where that was shown. Also, I did not get a DEP file number for this project at this point. So for these several reasons, I'm recommending that the hearing be continued so we can get additional comments from the review engineer and get the DEP file number and see whatever plan revisions that the applicant may need to make on this project.
Isn't this this project's before the ZBA also, right? And I think that was being continued.
It is before the zoning board as well. Yes, that's correct.
Do we know what it's
Wait,
in front of?
wait 1 second. The zoning's over with. Let me see if it was continued. Be right back.
I mean,
Alan?
They're on right now.
well, I think that, I mean, the emails that I got today said that it was most likely going to be continued because they received some new information and they weren't going to have time to review it before the meeting, unless that's changed.
The meeting's still going on.
So, I mean, do we know exactly what it's in front of the ZBA for? I mean, is it anything relevant to decisions that we would need to make?
Well,
we control our wetlands.
Okay, no, I'm just you know, just trying to get the full purview of what is going on with the project.
Sorry, Dave, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say it's before the zoning board because the project requires a comprehensive permit from the zoning board. So that's the reason why they're in front of the zoning board. It's just this type of project requires their approval.
Okay, no, I'm just you know, I haven't looked at what on the zoning side of it. I've just kind of studied it on our end. But obviously there's a lot to address anyway, and there's going to be a continuance regardless, based on a lot of the different things that, you know, need to happen anyway. But I was just curious. Sorry, Sandy, I didn't mean to jump the line.
No, that's all right. Rio, Amy, Joe, anything to add? This is a lot.
Rio, do you want to maybe give them a quick update on what's happening with ZBA first?
Yeah, so we're in front of ZBA tonight, concurrent with this. I think the expectation is that it'll probably be continued. There had been some comments that we had received recently from the fire department requesting access to the rear of our senior building.
Yeah.
Yes, right there. Yeah. So
not a lot of space.
So that's right. So there's not much space there. And right now, Joe, I don't know if you have anything to add there. Where our civil engineering team is looking at, you know, how to resolve that, you know, maybe by shifting
I mean, I
things.
think, Rio, we had looked at it. My name's Joe Henderson with Orsley Witten. We had looked at adding an access point behind the building. And as part of that, we actually think we can pull the outfalls outside the 50-foot buffer. So Dave, as you said, it looks like we can probably do that also, but we are currently looking at putting an access road behind the building. It's not been finalized. As Rio said, we just received the comments from the fire department yesterday.
Right, and I can echo what Joe was saying. We have sort of a in progress draft plan from as of this afternoon that will pull all of the work outside of the 50-foot, including both of the outfall pipes and potentially also the walking path. If the commission is familiar with the site at all, it was the site of a I believe like sometime in the 1970s subdivision that failed, but the roads are sort of cut into the wooded parcel already. Part of the roadway, the existing sort of dirt roadway there is cuts through the 50-foot buffer, and there has been some discussion sort of among the project team as to whether or not we could, as part of mitigation, in addition to meeting the stormwater standards, addressing erosion controls, to potentially revegetate that area to create a more robust buffer behind those buildings and adjacent to Flax Pond. And there is some existing debris.
Just a bit.
Okay, I was being polite. Some existing debris that we were proposing to remove, carefully from the edges of the wetlands and the buffers there too, to just sort of restore the natural habitat. Other than that, I believe Joe could speak more to the stormwater proposal for the use of bioretention cells and underground recharge chambers and an infiltration basin, if you need details. But it sounds like the commission will be receiving updated, not only updated project plans, but also an updated stormwater report as a result.
Just to speak quickly to the stormwater, we did submit a full stormwater report, and we did a full design analysis, so that we definitely can work with Green Seal if we need to get them more information. And the only other thing I would add is there is also a force main, a sewer force main that runs through the existing path very close to the wetland. So that's just another consideration there.
Is the force main shown on your plan?
Yeah, I'm running the cursor over where it is.
Yeah, it's indicated with an FM on the line, but
Oh,
it's,
Zoom in.
wow. Didn't know that was there. Surprise.
yeah, I only say that just because we just would want to make sure that it's accessible for maintenance if it was to stay, and if we don't want to hide it, I guess. That's all I was getting at.
Who is it connecting to? Nicholas Drive?
It actually connects out into Littleton Drive from the subdivision to the south.
Okay, the senior subdivision to the south.
Actually,
Okay.
I should say southwest. Yeah, it goes from Nicholas
Yeah,
through the Nicholas Drive subdivision and out into Littleton
Swiss-
Drive.
or, well, Swiss Beach, eventually, Swiss Beach Road.
Yep. And then it
Oh.
dumps into Swift Beach and goes by gravity the rest of the way.
Sorry. Sorry, I'll put my sewer commissioner hat on. I didn't know that was there. Okay, anything else before we ask there's a lot of questions here. There's a lot of work that still has to be done. So I'm gonna, Ron, any questions? We are going to continue, but Ron, anything?
I mean, Dave threw a lot out there. I mean, I think there's a lot of questions to be answered with the information that the town got, and also the things that Dave brought up. So, I mean, I think I'll wait to see the revised plans and things like that to really think about the questions I have. But there will be many. But at this point, I think I'm just going to hold off so I can see some more information come through.
Okay, Elissa,
Not at this point, thank you.
Mary,
Waiting for more information.
Kwame,
There's a lot to digest, so I'll just wait until there's more information. Thank you.
Michael.
Just really quickly, sometimes my computer could go like unstable at times. I just want to confirm on the map where it says like the big number 12, the big building with 12 on it, and it's not necessarily on this one. That's going to be the one that has the 44 senior single housing units. Is that correct?
That's right.
That's correct. Okay, I just want to confirm. Thank you.
Okay. Here's a question for you. Never mind. Sump pumps is another discussion with another commission. Yeah, I am very concerned about those drain pipes going out. Now, at what time we have a potential vernal pool?
Yeah.
Who is going to make the determination if it really is a vernal pool, because it does dry out?
Yeah, that's okay.
And there's a couple different bylaws that talk about whether or not it's a potential vernal pool or a confirmed certified vernal pool.
But a potential.
Dave,
vernal pool-
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Dave.
Go ahead.
Dave, who's going to make that, whether or not it is a, which bylaw or state law, 314 CMR 4.6 or whatever, as to whether or not we really do have a certified vernal pool here?
Well, it's not certified.
No, it's not.
No.
How do we get it reviewed to see if it's certified? Because that determines whether or not we do allow any type of stormwater drainage into that pond or vernal pool.
Right, so if we need to have that information, then we need to require that of the consultant to perform a review to determine that, and then we would review the information they submit. The issue with that, though, is you really, you kind of have to wait till springtime to adequately do a vernal pool review. So that's the issue with that. And
Okay.
I know Amy knows the drill with vernal pools.
That's correct. You would have to wait and then demonstrate either presence or absence of vernal pool species.
Those little critters that live there.
Correct. And would have to follow the protocols outlined by Natural Heritage for that process.
And just if I could clarify on the stormwater system, the outfall pipes are really an emergency situation. There really will be no significant water coming out of them. And I think when Greensill looks at the stormwater design, they'll see that, the idea is for our pre-development, our post-development and pre-development our post-development to be less than our pre-development. And I think we've demonstrated that. So we're not generating any new or significant amount of water going into that area.
In terms of an outfall, though, whether the whether the thought is that there may be little to no flow coming out of it or not, we have to regard it in the worst case scenario that there will be flow coming out of it. So that's how I recommend the commission that we look at any project, not just this one, but any where there's an outfall proposed. We have to look at it as though what the impacts would be with flow from that outfall pipe.
Sure, understood.
Now, those two outfall pipes are coming from a subsurface collection point underneath two large parking lots and down the streets in front of the community building. Is that how it will flow?
Yeah, so it will flow from our bioretention systems, which are there for the water quality treatment. And then from those bioretentions, it will go to the underground stormwater chambers for detention and some infiltration. And then when in the larger storm events, when it'll discharge some water, but that's all quantified in our stormwater management design calculations, the volume of water. And like I said, it's very insignificant except for maybe a little bit more during a 100-year storm event.
Okay, and this is a question that's more of the quality of the stormwater. Will there be any restriction to washing cars on any impervious pavement, driveways, or streets that would prevent phosphorus and other soapy stuff from coming down and being discharged?
Well, all the stormwater goes through the bioretention systems. So it does go through those, they're like filters. I don't know for sure if they remove those certain constituents, but they are a treatment practice. So anything that is washed would actually go through all the bioretention systems.
So it handle the phosphorus that comes off the soaps?
I'm not sure. I could find that out for you, but I don't know for sure.
I'm actually fairly certain they do handle phosphorus.
They do?
I thought they banned phosphorus in soaps, but not all of them, I suppose.
Soapy cars. Okay, just a point that I was considering what type of runoff from the streets and parking areas being any oil spillage or antifreeze that could be dripped down from cars and then passed on.
Right, that'll all be picked up into the stormwater system and treated prior to any discharge.
The bioretentions are like filters, so they filter down through the soil media, and then the water's collected in an under drain system, or if it fills up a significant amount, it'll overflow.
Okay. And I was pleased with the type of material you're going to be putting in your, what do you want to call them? Water, wetland,
Rain garden.
rain garden.
Rain
Thank
garden.
you.
Fire retention areas, yeah.
Thank you. Yep. Now, I have one more question. Give me a second to think about it. Nope, it's not coming. Now, is there anybody on the line that would like to, now, before the public speaks to this, we are only here to discuss wetland bylaws. We're not going to talk about a fence. We're not going to talk about other things that have been discussed in zoning. But before I do that, is there a chance we can find some way to put some type of boulders to define the 50-foot no work zone to prevent people from moving into this area around the pond? Just as consideration.
Always a good idea.
Some way to let people know that this is 50-foot no work zone, no disturb zone, no work zone, no disturb zone. I don't want a railing fence or anything else like that. That's too much maintenance. I was just thinking some type of boulders along that edge to let people know there is a restriction as to what can happen on the other side of the boulders on the water side. Just my own thought, but
Sure.
any,
We could
So
probably
we
think
can
of something.
take it into consideration, yes.
yes.
I know a project in town that might have some that they could get rid of.
Yeah, could that be on Minot Ave? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, is there anybody on the line that would like to speak for, against, or questions on this project, knowing it's going to be continued until, will we be able to continue this until the 20th? Do you need more time? Rio and company.
I think we'd like to aim for the 20th.
Okay, just to give the public an idea of when we were going to be continuing it. Okay, who's online that would like to speak to this project?
Hello?
Richard, I
Hello.
guess you're up. Richard?
How you doing? My name is Rich Callanan. I'm from 4A Rockmarsh Road. And we have a waterway, a swale basically, that directs drainage through our property. It goes under Rockmarsh Road itself, and it basically flows toward the project site. And about 10 years ago, we had a severe storm, and that area was basically blocked, and it basically caused a backflow onto the properties. So I was wondering what measures are being taken to first delineate that area as far as maintaining the existing topography, as well as making sure in the future they don't block any flow onto the property that exists now.
I'm trying to find your street on the map. Rio and Amy, any idea where that road is that he's talking about?
Rockmarsh Road is,
Yeah.
it's
Kind of up
it's off
on
of
this
Brown
side,
Street.
right here.
It's off of Brown? Okay.
Mhm.
But there's still a lot of woods between that and where they're planning to develop, right?
That is correct. That is correct.
Mm.
But we just want to bring it to your attention.
Okay.
Because there's an existing flow onto the property. There was a problem in the past. So obviously we want to make sure that doesn't occur again.
Yeah, we look at off-site, contributions to the site, but
Whatever it
that's
is.
good to know. We can.
In fact,
look at that a little
I
further.
think the area is a wet area, but I'm not sure it's technically wetlands.
So it flows down through the cul-de-sac and on back into the property?
No, it flows under the cul-de-sac. It ultimately flows between 6B and 8A units, 6B and unit 8A on Rockmarsh Road.
Okay. I guess we'll give them something to look at.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Thank you for your comment. We need to control that water flow.
My name is Pam Smith. I
Yes.
live on 59 Swifts Beach Road. I'm one of the abutters, I guess. I just wanted to point out that that is a very wet area. I know usually in the springtime, we do get, the water table is right up to the top and we all get water in our basements. I know it does the Flax Pond, if you call it that. It does have a lot of wildlife there, bullfrogs, tree frogs, the peepers, ducks. So if you could keep consideration with a barrier and over a 50-foot barrier to that, I just don't want to see that getting polluted by runoff from the trails that he proposes with rock salt or any kind of litter, debris, fertilizer from the
Pesticides.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I'm just concerned with the water table and the pond being polluted. I know as it is, we're going to lose all the woods that are there. And right now it is home to a lot of other critters and animals. It used to even have lady slippers, which is now the flower that is endangered. So.
Yep, they're hard to come by. Yeah. One of our standard order conditions is that all fertilizer be low nitrogen, slow reducing nitrogen. So that's an attempt to try to reduce the amount of water runoff of chemicals into our wetlands. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I have a feeling everybody's on the zoning meeting.
We're wondering about that.
Yes. Now, just as a side note, normally conservation is always on the first and third Wednesday. Zoning made a change to meet on the first Wednesday, which conflicts with ours. We don't like having the two permitting boards running the same night, talking about the same projects. So I'm hoping this will not continue having a conflict between zoning and conservation. Anybody else want to comment before we ask for a continuance? Nope, I'll take a motion to continue this until January 20th. I have the motion. I need a second.
A second.
Thank you. We're going to continue. Ron. Alyssa.
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
Sandy. We're continued until the 20th. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Now we're going to do continued public
Thank you.
hearings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a continued public hearing for UMass Cranberry Experimental Station. Anybody here for this project?
Yes, we have Brittany Veek from Niche, Steve Ventresca from Niche, and some people from UMass online.
Thank you. Mr. Pachette?
Okay, I'm just going to pull up this plan here.
The new one we got today?
I don't know when I sent it, but this is the one I'm going to pull up and the engineer can say whether or not this is the most current.
That's the one with a bigger tank.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so this project site is at 1 State Bog Road, and the project involves the construction of an addition to a lab building and associated site work in the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. A 42 by 57-foot building is proposed to add on to the existing building at the Cranberry Experimental Station. At the last meeting, we had continued the hearing because we did not have the DEP file number for the project. We have since received that. But in the meantime, since the last meeting, we had gotten an email stating that there was a revision to the plan, or a proposed revision to change the size of the proposed underground storage tank to be used to collect lab waste at the site. So because of the size of the tank that they want to propose, that required the tank orientation to be changed so that part of the tank would now be within the buffer zone, whereas previously the tank was outside the buffer zone. And so that's why we have this revised plan. So I'll let the engineer kind of go over that. But the last plan I had gotten was sort of a draft, and I'm not sure if, Brittany, if you have the final plan that's stamped and all that.
Yes, so I sent those to you pretty late in the day, so sorry about that. But we
Okay.
did have stamped plans into you that show this tank location as well as a settling basin location in case they need to do dewatering in order to install this tank. If you want, I can share my screen and show that plan.
Sure. Hold on one second. Okay, go for it.
Okay, so this is a colored version of the plan that I sent you. So we see the new tank location here. It's extending into the 100-foot buffer. And then we're showing a settling basin over here with some erosion control around it. And we're not sure if that will be necessary or not, but we wanted to have a location shown on the plan. And any soil removal that needs to occur to install this tank or the settling basin will be stored in the parking lot outside of the 50-foot and 100-foot buffer.
Okay, so based on the plan change with the new tank, I don't really have a problem with that. It's the work's still outside the 100-foot and it's going to be a tight tank. And my other question, which they've addressed, is to have some measures in place in case they do need some dewatering, because the excavation hole for this new tank is obviously going to be much bigger and deeper because of the tank size. So they are showing the proposed dewatering containment area. So now that we have the DEP file number, I would recommend the approval of the project with the standard conditions and the added conditions for dewatering at the site.
Thank you. Anybody would like to, Brittany, anybody else would like to speak to the project that Dave didn't cover or addition? No? Okay, questions on the board, Ron?
I came into this halfway because my system crashed, but I kind of remember this from the last meeting. I don't think I have any additional questions. I know that Dave had brought up some potential dewatering issues with the larger tank and the deeper digging. So if all that stuff's been addressed, I think that I'm good.
Okay, Melissa,
Nothing at this point.
Mary,
Nothing at this point.
Kwame,
No questions.
Mike,
Nothing else to add, thank you.
and I have no questions. Is there anybody on the line that would like to comment on this project? Hearing none, like to take, someone make a motion to close the hearing?
Motion to close.
I have a motion and I need a second.
Second.
Second, thank you. To close the hearing, Ron,
Yes.
Elissa,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Sandy. Yes, the hearing is closed. I need a motion to do a standard order of conditions with the
Possible
dewatering site.
Move to accept the project with a standard order of conditions, as well as the possibility of dewatering when the tank hole for the tank is dug.
Okay, I have that motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Elissa,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Sandy, yes, approved. Before you start any work, work with Mr. Pachette to make sure the paperwork is completed. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Night.
Right.
The next continued hearing is Kevin Nickerson at 3 Oak Hill Road. Is anybody here for that project?
Good evening, Brad Bertolo, JC Engineering.
Hi, Brad.
How you doing?
Okay. Mr. Pachette,
Yep, I'm just getting the plan pulled up here.
did we get a new plan?
Yes.
Oh. What's the date of the new plan? Last one I have is December 15th.
I think this one has today's date on it.
Ah,
Did you just send that out today, Dave?
I didn't even send that one out because it came in kind of late, I believe.
Okay, that's why because I didn't recognize a resubmitted plan either. Okay.
okay.
Yeah, so this project site is at 3 Oak Hill Road, and this project involves the demolition of an existing dwelling and the reconstruction of a new dwelling in the buffer zone to a coastal bank. So we had seen this before a couple times, and the issue that we had was that the house was being proposed to be expanded within the 30-foot no activity zone, and I had recommended that the plan be revised to reduce that. And that is what we have in front of us tonight. So they have revised the plan so that there is now not any new expansion of the house in the 30-foot. And they have also removed the underground leaching galley for the stormwater runoff from the roof that was also in the 30-foot zone as well. So based on these revisions, I'm comfortable now with the project as they have it. So we do have a DEP file number, and I would recommend the approval of the project based on this latest revised plan.
Okay. Brad, anything to add?
I do want to add that the total footprint of structures pre and post match because we're eliminating the garage. So the small expansion of the dwelling in the front by the street, plus the addition of the farmer's porch, is about the same size as the detached garage that's being removed.
And you needed that for zoning?
No. Oh, in
Okay.
regards, the garage was just in the way. So
Was in the way? Okay.
yeah, we're eliminating that.
They needed that more parking places. All right. Anything else? Okay, Ron, any questions?
No, I think that the concerns were addressed with this revised plan, with bringing the house back a little bit. So I don't have any further questions.
Okay. Alyssa,
No questions now.
Mary,
No question.
Kwame,
No questions.
Michael,
Not here, thank you.
Brad, with the removal of the dry well for the roof runoff, did that go someplace else?
Well, currently there are no dry wells handling the roof. Anything that runs.
It was being proposed. It was being proposed in the 30-foot, and you removed it.
Correct. So that area that would that gutter pipe that's on the south west portion of the property would discharge to the ground. Currently, right now, there's a concrete pad there. We're proposing to eliminate the concrete pad and just have crushed stone underneath the deck. The deck itself is elevated, so it's a walk under the deck. And with the removal of the concrete, there'll be some more pervious area to allow water to run off. We are capturing some of the water on that side of the roof with the dry well at the street side of the dwelling.
Okay. Because I know you had a neighbor, Mr. Nolan was concerned about the runoff of the property down to his dwelling. But there's a
Yes.
swale, isn't there?
The current grading heads in that direction, and he was concerned with additional runoff. We are adding a larger footprint on the house, but we're capturing that footprint with that single dry well. And we're doing some minor grading on the north side of the property just to make sure that the current topography doesn't directly go towards his dwelling, which you can see on the plan.
Thank you. All right, is there anybody online that would like to speak to this project? I know that this is also in front of zoning at the same time, so this is another duplicate. Anybody here for this project?
I just want to clarify, the zoning was continued and that hearing is the 27th of this month.
Okay. Thank you. So for this project, I hear nobody on the line. I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close.
I have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. We've, to close the hearing, Ron,
Yes.
Elissa,
Yes.
Mary, Sandy, yes, the hearing is closed. Okay, I need a motion for the approving the project with a standard order of conditions.
Motion.
I move that we
Okay,
accept the project standard orders of conditions and nothing else, I think.
Second.
I have a motion. I heard a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Elissa,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Sandy. Yes, the hearing is closed. The project is approved. And so Brad, speak to Mr. Pachette before you start the project. Okay,
Will do. Thanks again.
thank you.
You.
We're back to the two stacy projects.
Good evening, all.
You're
Hi, Stacy.
there.
I was hiding.
Which one would you like to handle first?
150 Tahonnet.
Okay, we're gonna do 150 Tahonnet.
140 because that'll be a continuance, whatever your preference is.
Okay, we'll do the 150.
Okay. Stacy Minahan with Beals and Thomas and Zach Farkas with Borrego Solar Systems is here as well. So it's been a little while since we met with the Conservation Commission. We wanted to get our final plans and sign off from Charlie Rowley, which we have now done. So I think actually since we've been before you last, there have probably been a couple plans submitted. The most recent was on December 15th, revised plans, stormwater, and a transmittal letter. Mr. Rowley responded to that, and we had addressed his comments, and the planning board did at its last hearing approve the project. So if you don't mind either pulling up the plan, Dave, or I can share my screen, whatever is easier.
Yeah, I'll let you go for that because I know there have been some couple of plan changes and I've been away for a while. And so it'd be better to see what you have and explain the most recent plan.
Perfect. Yeah, I just want to run through the most notable changes. So there were some, can you all see my plan screen?
Yes.
Okay. So there were several kind of technical, detail clarifications, stormwater type changes that were made that really aren't that obvious and were to address specific comments that Charlie had. The notable changes that I wanted to mention to the commission, the most notable probably for the commission's perspective is in the northern portion of the site here. You may recall that when we met with you last, we discussed, I know I discussed it with Dave at one point. There was a second access drive proposed in this area. And the team wanted that for circulation and construction considerations. Charlie did ask that we ultimately remove it. So we had submitted a request for waiver because there was a tiny little piece of the apron outside of the tree line that was within 50 feet of this cranberry bog. So we've subsequently withdrawn that waiver request since that access drive has been eliminated. So that was the first notable change. And then moving to the southwest of the site, you may remember this access drive previously ran along the transmission easement into the site. The team has moved that northerly to create more of a treed buffer here. So it's north and then drops down, and the westerly extent of these panels has been shifted east as well. So those are really kind of the noteworthy changes. Like I said, I think we satisfied all of Charlie's comments. The planning board's approved, and I'm happy to run through any questions that the commission might have.
Could I ask a question, Madam Chair, before?
Yeah. Yes, Dave, go ahead.
On this site, is this the one that had the access road partially in the 50-foot no activity zone, or was that 140?
So they both did at one point. So 140 does have an existing road that runs through the 50-foot, which we have a waiver request into the commission as part of that application. That's the southerly site, and it's within the existing road is within 50 feet of an agricultural canal. This site had an access road here, and the portion of it here adjacent to Tohonet at the north, a little corner of the apron was within 50 feet of this cranberry bog. So we had submitted a waiver request, but then ultimately when Charlie asked that we remove it, now that waiver request is no longer needed. So for this 150 Tohonet project, there are no waivers of that 50-foot being requested of the commission.
Okay, yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify that one. So yeah, my comment will be reserved for the 140 site once we get into that, but I do recall discussing the one to the north, and so that's fine if that's going to be eliminated. So I'll wait till hear any other questions.
Stacy, this not conservation, but wasn't there an issue with planning with clearing the trees on the east side?
Oh, the 50-foot setback you might be referring.
Yes,
so,
yeah.
The team interprets the 50-foot setback a little bit differently in the zoning bylaw than what was ultimately required, but we obviously deferred to planning and to Charlie. So we had so it didn't change the location of the access drive, at least not from the last few rounds of revision. The team had been proposing to, I believe it was clear but not stump within 50-foot zone along, and there's a 50-foot no touch off of the property line for zoning, or if it's a 50-foot vegetative buffer. I shouldn't call it a no touch, but that's how it's being treated. And so what we did is we moved the clearing, the edge of clearing. Previously it was along the property line, now it's 50 feet off of the property line. So the overall clearing for this site has been reduced to 49.16, I think it is, acres. And that clearing is partially because of that change and also partially here as well.
I know it's nothing to do with conservation, but it was a question that was in the back of my mind.
Happy to answer.
Thank you. Questions on the board, Ron?
No questions.
Elissa?
No.
Mary?
No question.
Kwame?
No questions.
Michael?
No questions, thank you.
Anybody on the public that would like to comment on this particular project?
I just had one more comment, Sandy, I guess.
Okay.
It's just a general comment, I guess. It's just that it's sort of a very big disappointment to see this level of acres cleared for this project or any project like this. We really need to figure out how to get these projects in places where they're more appropriately suited so that you're not losing acres and acres of good forest land. Everybody understands the need to have solar, but it's just not appropriate, in my opinion, to continue to see this, and we just can't allow the town to get deforested for these sorts of things.
Okay. I understand there are some legislative work being done to help with that. Is there not? Or did it not?
Yes, there is. There is. Yes.
There is something in the progress, but not for this project because it happened beforehand. I thought I saw Nancy and Kathy on early. Any comments? No?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you. There you go.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, the television has occupied a lot of today, but we won't.
Well, yes, it has.
Anyway, I would like to echo Kathy Pappalardo, Wareham Land Trust, and concerned citizen of Wareham. In the 40 years that I've lived here, and learn to love this town and work to save this town. I appreciate, Stacy, all that you have done to listen to Charlie Rowley. I've been at every single one of those planning board meetings, in person and in Zoom, and at the Concom meetings. And I totally echo Dave's sentiments. I do believe in solar. I personally have solar on my roof. As they say, nothing was destroyed. Nature wasn't destroyed because of solar on our roof. The issue that I have with solar, as if with a lot of the wind projects, is siting. Solar should be part of building codes, which is, I hope, what the state will go to in regards to new construction. Put it on the roof of the new buildings. The state is trying to lead the country in energy efficiency. Having laws to take care of that would take it out of the hands of the local boards, make it easier for developers and builders to do their planning. But siting is so critical, and to take land that is virgin land, it's not an old gravel pit, it's not an old shopping mall, it's not something that was already destroyed. Something like that, and you're putting solar on it, objections wouldn't be raised. The animals have left. Nature has been destroyed. But taking virgin land and destroying it like this, that I have a problem with. And I am hoping that the state is waking up to that. And there's some resilient lands initiatives that the state is working on, and their energy programs that hopefully will address these issues for the future. We know we need alternative energy, but the location is critical. Destroying nature to create electricity while you're destroying all the carbon sequestration that has been put there by nature just doesn't cut it. You cannot duplicate what nature has already been doing. So I thank the Conservation Commission for all that they have put into this, and Stacy and Zach for all that you have had to listen to, and the concerns of this town and the people that are here who truly don't want to see the town destroyed for the sake of energy or profitability on somebody else's back while the town suffers for it. So let's hope that things change for the future and that more of our wonderful forest lands aren't destroyed for projects like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Did Nancy want to add anything?
Hurry up. She's coming.
I know the TV has pulled us all in there today, hasn't it?
It's sad.
It was. Yes.
No, just to thank the commission for doing their job. It's certainly not an easy job when the town is pushing for the financial benefit from this sort of thing. And I understand that this is private ownership and that people can do with their land what they want. But there seems that we need to come up with some sort of a better way to preserve the natural resources that make Wareham special. And that includes protecting our water supply and our quality of life. But thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank you.
You know, how you were attentive to Charlie as well.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else that'd like to speak for this project? I just have one more comment. Sorry. I'm seeing more and more activity of putting solar panels high over cranberry bogs, which are already disturbed. So whoever's listening, that still is a good alternative as opposed to cutting down trees. That's my last comment. So if there's nobody else to speak for this project, I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close the hearing.
Second.
I heard a motion and a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Sandy. The hearing is closed. I need a motion to accept the project with standard order of conditions.
I move to accept the project with standard order of conditions. And I don't think we have anything to add to that. Am I correct?
Correct.
I would just say, just to add, or I would add this anyway, that the limit of work be maintained in the future. In other words, that's got to be maintained as the limit of work going forward.
Okay, that motion includes that statement.
Yeah.
I need a second.
Second.
Second, I have a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Sandy, done. Stacy, see you later.
Not quite yet,
Next-
but thank you all very much for your, attention and patience as we work through the plan revision.
Okay. The next continued hearing is at 140 Tyhonet Road, and you wanted a continuance. Will the 20th be all right?
I think so. I'd like to continue to the 20th in case we're ready. If we're not, Zach can jump in if I'm wrong, but I think we're planning on doing the same thing, trying to satisfy all of Charlie's comments. Once he has an opportunity to review the revised plans we'll be submitting and then coming back before you. So there's a chance I will request a continuance to that hearing, but the timing might work.
Okay, thank you. Anybody want to comment on this particular project before I ask for a motion to continue? I'm hearing none. I'll take a motion to continue it until January 20th.
Excuse me, Sandy.
Yes.
Sorry, Sandy. Zach here. Can Dave just make his comment about the waiver request that he was holding earlier? Just while we're here, we can understand it.
Okay, Dave.
Thank you.
Yeah, so in terms of that, I certainly had recommended before and would recommend again that the 50-foot no activity zone be maintained regardless of whether there's a existing road going through that area or not, because from my understanding, there's going to be a fence around the particular area of the site. And so I would want any fence line to be outside the 50-foot to the no activity zone. If that's the way you've got it revised, then I'm okay with it. If you're still proposing to utilize that road for access and that's going to be fenced in and that's going to be within the 50-foot, then I'm not okay with it. And I would recommend against that. So that was going to be my comment.
Yep.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
So then Sandy, can we ask if that's as Dave has said?
We're waiting for new plans we're waiting on new plans.
All right.
That's
Yeah,
why we're-
Stacy and I'll take a look and make sure we communicate that feedback back to our design team. Off the top
Okay.
of my head, I don't recall exactly how it's designed, but with Dave's clarity right there, there's certainly no lack of understanding on our side.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
we have a request to continue until the 20th of January. I need a motion? Or
So
did I
moved.
already ask?
Second.
And I have a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Sandy? Yes, it's continued until the 20th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a nice evening.
Yep, you too.
Okie dokie, we have a certification of compliance.
Yes, we have a request for a certificate of compliance for a project that was at 25 Willard Street, which is behind Perry's Ice Cream in that development. And the project has been completed according to the order of conditions. So I would recommend the issuance of the certificate of compliance. And that project was for a septic system upgrade.
Do we need a motion?
I need a motion.
So I move that we accept the certificate of compliance for Karen Oates, 25 Willard Street.
Second.
Thank you. And I heard a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Sandy? Done. Now, we have paperwork. I think that does the meeting unless someone wants to add anything, but we have paperwork to sign. Dave, how's the best way to handle that? Call you when you meet us in the parking lot?
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow, again, if tomorrow's convenient, I'll be there. So if people want to come at the time that we've been using before, say around 9:30 or whatever time is best for you, just let me know. And I plan to be there pretty much most of the day. So,
Well, what's most of the day, Dave?
I mean, I'm going to be in the office in the morning. During the day, I may have to go out to a couple of sites. So I would say anywhere between 9 and 10:30 would be ideal. If people could come in then. Again, if not, I'll be there later in the day as well. Probably from 4:30 to 6. Once it gets dark, I won't be out doing any site visits.
Now,
That works. That
town
works
hall
for
is-
me.
So town hall is still closed, is it not?
It is still closed, so somebody would just have to call and let me know that they're there, and I'll bring the paperwork outside and get you to sign it that way.
All right. Is there anything else from anybody else? If not,
Move to close the meeting.
I have a motion to close. I
Second,
have-
third, fourth, fifth, and sixth.
All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Elissa,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Sandy. Thank you and Happy New Year. And I sure hope it was, this morning I was hoping it was going to be better. I take that back looking at this afternoon.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Hey,
Yeah, I
hey
went
Dave.
to-
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Go ahead, Sandy. I'm sorry.
No, I guess that we're done. I went to bed with red leading and I woke up with blue leading and then all hell broke loose. Okay, comment, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say yeah, those solar projects, I mean, they're popping up in, a lot of different areas. Not just in Wareham, but I mean, that's a that's a pretty big area. Like where would they say, like over 25 acres, right?
I thought it was 40.
Yeah,
About 40 acres.
this one we just did was like 49, and that was the one we just approved. The one right next door to it is about the same size as that. So you're talking like over 80 acres just right there in that chunk of town.
Those
Okay.
poor possums and squirrels and skunks.
So, like, I mean, I'm all for clean energy. I have solar on my house. And I mean, amount of energy, I mean, amount of sun that you need for, I don't know how many panels you need, but how much is that actually going back to Wareham? I mean, you need a lot of panels,
Well, I think like any of these projects, they basically go into the grid, into the nebulous, and then it's just
Right.
part of what gets distributed around to everyone. So it's hard to say what portion of that ends up to Wareham residents, but it's just instead of having more of their electricity come from a coal-fired plant, as it's coming from, some of it's coming from here now. So
Right.
I don't think I could answer that as far as
Right.
what quantity comes back to Wareham. It's just, as I said,
Sad.
unfortunate.
It is.
It's just unfortunate to see this acreage cleared for a commercial project. So it'd be one
Right.
thing if these areas were zoned for commercial projects, but they're not. But yet, for solar purposes, these commercial projects are allowed to go in basically anywhere. So what I would like to see is some bylaw that the town puts in place to cap the amount of acres that could be cleared for a given solar project. For example, in the town of Westport, you can only clear a max of 16 acres for a solar project.
Wow.
Yep.
And so I know other towns are doing that or things like that. And as far as I'm concerned, we should try to get something like that here. Now, that would have to be in the
Go,
form-
Dave, work on it.
well, that would have to be in the form of a zoning bylaw, though.
I know, but we can present it.
All right, we'll give it a whirl.
Yeah.
But we need to, I think something should be put in place because we don't know what the state's going to do or whatever. So instead of relying on that, we should try to come up with something, and obviously it has to be something that the voters would support. So it can't be crazy,
Now
but-
that right there could be the tough part, getting the voters to support anything that wants to be done.
Well, I guess it's worth giving it a shot because I think a lot of people look at Toby Road and they say, man, I don't like this. And so that's
Well,
a good,
Agreed.
that's a good sort of commercial for having a bylaw like this, because
You can see
people
all
see
those
that. and
trees
they're like,
haven't grown either, so.
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. So we'll see. I've brought it up already. But again, I know there's others in town that are supportive of such things because they generate tax dollars. So, you know, it's
Yeah,
kind of,
but it's kind of like it's kind of like selling your soul.
yeah.
When you talk about natural habitat, for I mean, for the little tax dollars that it is, I mean, it's not a huge number. I mean, unless I'm reading something differently, it's not, you know, we're not talking about millions of dollars. You know, we're talking about, you know, small time in the grand scheme of things. It's just a small time number.
Yeah, it's not
$2 or
million, it's not
$3.
millions, it's not millions, but it's, you know, it's not a bad chunk either. The town does make some, you know, a good chunk of change off of these things.
But it changes the character of the town.
Exactly.
Having
Yeah.
everything stripped like this, it just isn't, it isn't Wareham anymore. I remember West Wareham, nothing existed. Now look at it.
Yeah.
You know, there is a potential potential idea for some projects down the road that could potentially bring in millions of dollars in taxes, but that's to be heard.
That's another
March.
project and another topic, and then we won't talk about that zoning change.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about changing the character of the town, that's going to be one that would, you know, you'd never see anything like it after that.
It's already on a sand pit anyway, so.
Well,
Okay.
I live in West Wareham, so I need to know these things.
Okay. Our meeting's over with. What anybody wants to just kibitz back and forth, I'm fine with continuing.
I would say that there was a new violation that I came across that I'll be